Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Arbuckle. Welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to share with you guys 5 amazing tips to help you guys become gods at Fortnite Battle Royale. These are fairly random tips. They don't really go together, but if you guys practice them and you put them to good use, you will become a much better player at the game, and I highly suggest using these. I want to point out that if you guys have anything to add alongside these tips as I'm giving them, make sure to leave them down in the comments below. So that we can help other people out, whether that be to progress the tip that I'm sharing with you or to add something new that you didn't really, or that I didn't really think about when making the video. So without further ado, let's jump right into these tips. So the first tip that I have for you is to parachute in over the water, whether that be Loot Lake or the ocean. It's obviously the lowest point on the map, therefore your parachute won't auto-deploy early, like a lot of people's do, and you'll be able to get down to the map quicker, get the loot before the enemies do, and put yourself in a position to get more kills and make it further in the game. So a lot of people don't realize that you can actually fly over the ocean. I know most of the time the bus does take a few extra seconds by the time you get on land to allow you to jump out. But if you're going somewhere on the edge of the map, specifically Greasy or Shifty, and there's so many different areas, even up northeast at Wailing Woods, there's so many different areas where you can jump out and get to them by flying over the ocean. It's a huge difference. I like to use Greasy as a big example because that's when I use this the most, and I know it depends on the route that the bus is taking, so pay close attention to that. And what's nice now about Fortnite, since the new update, we're actually now able to see the route that the bus is going to take before we just jump in. So we can actually plan where we want to jump and which directions we want to take. But flying over the water is the best way to go. When jumping out to Greasy, if you fly over the ocean, you can actually get all the way down to ground level, and before you even pull your chute. Now you want to be careful because you don't want to be in a position where you go all the way down to the water. You can go down into the ocean and not pull your chute in time. So you do want to make sure that you actually pull your chute because it won't auto deploy until you get too low. But definitely use that to your advantage because you will beat a lot of people, especially when you go into some of these places that are surrounded by mountains or hills with trees on them. So many people run into situations where their parachute accidentally auto deploys because they're either in a bad spot or they're not paying attention. So if you can get that extra 20-30 meters, you're definitely going to be able to win more gunfights and get ahead of people that are also coming to the location that you're going to. You can also use Loot Lake, and I use Loot Lake a lot, especially when going to places like Tilted and Pleasant. And what's nice about that is Loot Lake's right in the middle of the map, right? It's right in the heart, so there's a lot of different areas that you can go and use Loot Lake to your advantage. There's a specific house that I like to go to in Pleasant, and it's right in between two hills, so I'll fly down right over Loot Lake, auto deploy my chute at the lowest point and fly right in between those two hills and fly right into the house that I want to land at, and I get in front of everyone almost every single time. So if you use Loot Lake and the ocean to your advantage, you'll get down to the map quicker, and therefore you'll make it further in the games and win more gunfights. The second tip that I have for you guys is to enter new circles from the smallest points to avoid being shot in the back. One of the biggest problems that we have when playing Fortnite is getting shot by people camping or just hiding in bushes or sitting behind you. And when entering the new circle, you have to be careful. It's really a strategy when playing the game, and it changes every game because the circles are always in different points, and you're always going to be in a different spot every single game. So when you get closer to the end is when it gets more crucial. At the beginning, it's not that big of a deal because obviously each end of the circle is going to be a pretty big area. But when you get down to where there's only like 20-15 players left, you want to try to enter the new circle from the smallest point closest to the storm. That way you can avoid players that are hiding in bushes or kind of sitting back. If you're running from this giant open area from the storm to the circle, there's a really good chance that there's going to be other people there. So try to work your way around. One thing I like doing is kind of running on the edge of the storm. What's nice about that is the storm is so loud that it'll actually dim your footsteps. So if there are people that are in the same area as you, you'll be able to get a lot closer to them without them knowing that you're coming. So use the storm, play the perimeter, and try to enter the new circle from the closest point to the storm there. You'll avoid dying and hopefully make it further into the games. The third tip that I have for you is to place traps in and around your base before and during battles. So before, if you're building a base, whether that be in the circle, outside of the circle, temporary base, if you have traps, use them. So many players just save them up and think that they're going to use them later on and end up getting in gunfights and they'll die, or they'll just forget about it. They'll win the game and they have 10 traps. You want to use those traps to your advantage. You want to be able to place all of them. Sure, they might not do anything, but it's better having them down than not having them down at all, just having them in your inventory. So if you're building a little 1x1 base, 3 blocks high, 4 blocks high, however high you want to go, always put 1 or 2 traps on the top of your base so that if someone builds up to you and jumps in to try to kill you with a shotgun, your traps will save your ass. And that happens so many times for me, and it's so clutch. I always recommend putting down 2 because most players, especially when you get closer to the end of the games, are going to have enough health to sustain 1 trap hit. So if you put down 2, it's a guaranteed kill. There's no way they're getting out of it. So always put down traps in the top of your base just in case players ramp up. Another thing that you need to think about when you're in a build battle or you're in a battle with someone and you're just randomly building walls, always place traps down on those random walls, especially in build battles. I can't stress that enough. So many players, and I understand it's hard to really think about that when you're in the zone fighting somebody. But if you've ever seen one of those crazy build battles where they're building all the way up to like 500 miles in the sky, if you're building up and doing crazy stuff like that, if you have a split second, press the button and throw down a trap. That way, when you're moving around, if you're still building, even when you're on the ground, if you're just building random walls, throw down a trap, because if someone's pushing you, there's a good chance they're going to run around one of those walls or one of those traps, and that could save your life. So use those traps to your advantage, especially in build battles. Make sure to put them in your base, and you'll be able to get more kills. The next tip that I have for you is to fake snipe the bottom of enemy bases to knock them down. This is not a tip that I have seen anywhere else. This is something that I do personally. I wasn't going to share, but I want to share it with you guys because it's something that's worked a lot for me recently and is really, really interesting. So let's say, for example, I'm sitting in a base and I see another base that's really far away, and maybe it's not the best player, and they build a 1x1, but they go more than 3 blocks high. And for those of you that don't know, if you go more than 3 blocks high or 3 walls high, you'll take fall damage. So let's say, for example, I'm looking at someone, they've gone 5 or 6 blocks high, and I know that if I shoot out the bottom, they'll fall to their death. Now the problem is, if I'm using a SCAR, if I'm using a light machine gun, anything that's loud, obnoxious, they're going to know that's what I'm trying to do. If they hear the shots and they look and they see all these shots that aren't hitting them, there's a really good chance they're going to figure out that I'm shooting at the bottom of their base, and they're probably going to either build down or do something to evade that, right? Like they're going to try to get low, hit a launch pad, whatever they're going to do to try to avoid falling to their death. So one way you can actually get rid of that, eliminate that, is by using a sniper to take out the bottom of their base. Now obviously you only have 1 shot per sniper, right? You shoot, you got to reload, whatever, but the sniper does a lot of damage, and you can actually take down the bottom of bases fairly quickly. And what's nice about that is when you hear a sniper shot, you're always assuming when a sniper shot comes near you that it's aimed at your head, right? That's what everyone uses snipers for. No one uses snipers to shoot down bases. So what you can do is you can fake snipe at players and actually shoot at the bottom of their base and quietly knock them down. Now I say quietly in terms of not keeping them from knowing what you're doing, even though you are making a scene by shooting a sniper. But what's nice is when you shoot that sniper, they're automatically going to drop, right? They're not going to want to get hit, so they're going to get down. They're going to play very, very cautious, and they're not going to realize that you're trying to shoot out the bottom of their base. And I know this sounds crazy, but I can't tell you how many times that this has worked for me. So fake snipe at enemy bases, shoot at the bottom. You'll be able to knock them out, and hopefully put yourself in a better position to win that gunfight. The 5th and final tip that I have for you guys is to use your reticle to spot bush campers. So many people still don't understand that you can do this. I even have a couple friends that didn't realize it, that I had to explain it to. But you can use your gun by aiming down sights to figure out if someone's hiding in a bush or not. So many people are running around just shooting at bushes, and I'm like, what are you doing? You're shooting at the bush, and you're making all this noise. People are going to hear us, and everyone's like, well, I'm shooting at the bush to make sure no one's in it. Well, you can actually make sure no one's in it without shooting. If you aim at the bush and move your crosshairs over the bush, if it goes normally, full speed, nothing happens, no one's in the bush. And this actually works from very, very long distances. So if you see a bush as far away, you think someone might be in it, aim at it and move your crosshairs over it. If you move your gun over it and your gun slows down or stops drastically, someone's in the bush. That's the auto aim taking over. And again, like I said, this works from very, very long distances. So it keeps you from having to shoot, make a ruckus, get everyone's attention. So that's a really good way of figuring out if someone's in a bush or not. I highly recommend using it from long distance instead of running up. Like, if you're going to run up 3 feet away from a bush and then use this tactic, it's basically useless, because if there is someone in that bush and they see you run 3 feet in front of them and aim at them, they're probably going to start shooting at you. So before you even get near the bush, make sure to use this tactic so that you can avoid being killed by the oh-so-only bush camper. But anyway, guys, these are the 5 tips that will hopefully help you guys to become gods at Fortnite Battle Royale. Again, if you guys have anything else to add on to these these tips that will help benefit people that are watching this video, make sure to leave that down in the comment section below. I hope you guys did enjoy it. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video.